This video was made possible by HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code HAI12 to get 12 free meals, including free shipping. The cool thing about YouTube is that I really get to know my audience. YouTube is always sending me these amazing statistics like, Sam, your average viewer is 88% cooler and better looking than the average Legal Eagle viewer, or Sam, your average viewer sends you 3% less hate mail than the average Legal Eagle viewer, or Sam, your average viewer is going to die on January 1st, 2075 at exactly 11 a.m. Isn't that awesome? Wait, what? It's creepy? It's creepy for me to tell my viewers when they're going to die? Well, maybe it would be a little less creepy if I explained why. Of course, estimating the year of someone's death is simple enough. My average viewer is about 25 and has roughly 54 more years to live, but how can you know which day out of any given year is the one that's going to be the deadliest? Well, it turns out there's actually a pretty consistent answer. Back in 2010, sociologist David Phillips compiled 57 million death certificates ranging from 1979 to 2004 and noticed something interesting. At least in the United States, there's a noticeable spike in deaths at the end of every single year, and it peaks exactly on New Year's Day. At first, the explanation seems pretty simple. There are more people drinking champagne, more people lighting their roof on fire with bootleg fireworks, and more people driving down residential streets at 150 miles an hour because they lit their friend's roof on fire with bootleg fireworks. But here's the catch. This pattern holds even if you're only counting deaths due to natural causes like heart attacks or pneumonia. So maybe it has something to do with colder weather. After all, natural deaths do tend to increase in colder months and decrease when it gets warmer. But yet again, even when you're looking at deaths from perpetually warm climates, the New Year's Day spike remains. Well, you might be thinking, last New Year's I spent the whole day thinking about how I've been wearing these same sweatpants since the New Year's before, and the stress of that nearly killed me. And yeah, Phillips does acknowledge that stress levels are heightened on holidays like New Year's and Christmas, but he also points out that there's no evidence that it's actually killing people, at least in numbers this large. So what makes New Year's Day so deadly? Well, there seem to be two main theories. The first is that people simply don't like going to the hospital during major holidays. Like, say you're at a party where you might get a kiss from a mysterious stranger at midnight, but you also might currently be having a heart attack. Better to play it safe and just stay at the party. This is why you see spikes on other holidays too, with Christmas being a close runner-up. The other theory has something to do with the way that hospitals operate. Generally speaking, hospital mortality rates are slightly higher by just a few percentage points during public holidays because there are fewer staff on call and test results can be delayed by a few more days. The same principle has been shown to apply to weekends and, in some hospitals, July 1st. The day that many new medical students start their real-world practice, where they have about a 10% higher chance of slipping up with a fatal medication error. But let's say you're a strong, healthy, strapping young YouTube viewer and you're not really concerned about dying of old age, at least not yet. Well, unfortunately, there are still a few days you should watch out for. If you're not the greatest driver, you might want to stay off the roads on August 2nd. That's the day, according to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, that the most fatal crashes occur owing to an increased volume of traffic and longer travel times as people head to the beach, or the lake, or the haunted amusement park, or wherever they spend their summer vacations. If you're okay at driving, but you're just generally unlikable, then you should really avoid that New Year's party because that's also the day you're most likely to be murdered, followed by the 4th of July, and then Christmas. You might also want to stay home on Sundays, which have a 20 to 30% higher homicide rate than weekdays, because, I guess, all the serial killers are busy churning out educational YouTube content. So let's say one of these fatal days rolls around. Is there any way to know what time of day you're most likely to keel over? Well, it turns out that there is, and it has to do with your DNA. You see, there's a single nucleotide polymorphism, meaning a single base pair in your DNA sequence that can vary from person to person, that helps inform your circadian rhythms. This sequence can either be AA, AG, or GG, and people in the AA group tend to have biological clocks that run just a little bit faster than the GG group, resulting in naturally earlier wake-up times by about an hour or so. The thing is, your circadian rhythm also regulates things like hormone releases, body temperature, and blood pressure, and all of these factors play a part in potentially fatal events like strokes or heart attacks. Because of the way that the timing works out, people in the AA and AG groups are most likely to experience a natural death at about 11 a.m., and people in the GG group are most likely to experience one at about 6 p.m. So, the next time the clock strikes 11 on January 1st, brace yourself. Or just, go to the hospital if you're having a heart attack. Of course, the best way to not be forced to decide between a midnight kiss and a deadly heart attack is to not have a heart attack in the first place, and one way to do that is to eat right. You see, I used to be a takeout addict. I didn't really have the time to go shopping and prep and make meals, so delivery was the quick alternative. Of course, takeout is not healthy and is not cheap, so I wanted to find a healthier, cheaper, but similarly convenient alternative, and that's why I started using HelloFresh. Seriously, I've used them for over a year, I have the hundreds of recipes to prove it, and actually explicitly asked them to sponsor us. Each week, a new box arrives with everything I need in the quantities I need to make these different, delicious, unique meals. That makes prep so much quicker, so I can get a meal like this tropical teriyaki pork bowl made in just 30 minutes. HelloFresh also helps cut down on food waste by sending you the exact quantity you need, and overall, the carbon footprint of one of their meals is 25% lower than one made from store-bought groceries. You can find out why I've been using HelloFresh consistently for over a year when you go to HelloFresh.com and use code HAI12 to get 12 free meals, including free shipping, and you'll be helping support HAI while you're at it.